Hi, and welcome to the Business Pioneer Podcast. I'm your host, Erica Montgomery, founder and CEO of Three Girls Media Inc., an award-winning digital marketing agency. Today's guest is Micki Nichols, who is the executive director and franchise owner of BNI Pacific Northwest, of which I am a member. Micki has a background in retail and direct sales, and she has found her true calling over 2 decades ago in the world of business networking. What started for her as a personal need to build community after a cross-country move turned into a long-term passion and a career in BNI. And now 14 years into owning her own BNI region, Micki helps business owners grow through meaningful connections, intentional networking, and the powerful philosophy of giver's gain, one of the tenets of BNI. In this episode, we're going to talk about what makes BNI more than just a referral group, how Micki fosters real collaboration amongst business owners, and why trust-based relationships are still the most valuable currency in business. Micki, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So maybe you could start by telling our viewers what BNI is.
Well, BNI is an international organization. It is Business Network International. It's evolved by names over the years, but it's been kind of known as just BNI for several years. And it is we have over 340,000 members, and I think we're in 76 different countries, and we have over 11,000 BNI chapters around the world, all made up of entrepreneurs.
That is remarkable. I didn't realize it was in so many different countries. That is powerful.
It is. It's very exciting to think that we all run. Doesn't matter what language you speak. We're all running the same exact agenda in all 76 different countries.
Amazing. So, as the executive director and franchise owner of BNI Pacific Northwest, what area do you cover?
I cover 9 counties of kind of the western Washington, western edge of Washington, west of Seattle. I have Centralia or Lewis County, Wahkiakum, up through Clallam County and Jefferson County.
Phenomenal. And you mentioned that BNI is really designed for entrepreneurs and small business owners. Are these people from every industry you could imagine?
Really, they really are from just about every industry you can imagine. Just because you haven't encountered a wide variety doesn't mean that there isn't a wide variety. We have everything. I mean, we have residential real estate agents in probably every chapter around the world, but we also have in one region, we have a llama farm.
Oh my gosh.
My region, I would love that. I would probably be there quite often visiting, but yeah, so if you own a business, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's a legal business, you would benefit from networking and creating community within your community through BNI.
And, BNI is very different than other networking groups that I have belonged to in the past. It's very structured, and the purpose is building relationships and passing referrals. So it is referral based, but you really want to give referrals to people you know and do business with people that you know well. And so the emphasis is really on building relationships. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely correct. I have been a part of other networking groups before I was introduced to BNI. I'm also a part of like a chamber of commerce, and every organization's philosophy and purpose around networking is all very different. And I think the reason I was really attracted to BNI was because of that structure that you mentioned, because I'm incredibly shy. Most people do not know quite how shy I am. I have learned to not be shy in business environments when I'm networking. But the social networking, even going to a Chamber of Commerce luncheon, gives me anxiety. I
Mm.
find a lot of comfort in the structure, and I find that a lot of shyer networkers find their way to BNI because the social part gives them anxiety, and the structure helps them feel like they're not wasting their time, and it's focused and productive time because of the structure.
Yeah, it really is productive. Not only like most networking groups, do you have an opportunity to introduce yourself and your business at each meeting, but the other components I find are so valuable, like the education. There's a huge emphasis on education, and that's part of every weekly meeting. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, that is probably one of the biggest reasons why I fell in love with BNI. Um, was if I could still be in college, I would probably still be in college. I absolutely one of my personal core values is learning, is lifelong learning.
Mm.
So the lifelong the learning through BNI, I just think is phenomenal because as busy entrepreneurs, like once you hit the ground, as soon as you wake up in the morning, you're just going and going and going until you can't anymore, and until you get to a very comfortable place in your business, many entrepreneurs don't feel like they can take the time to invest in learning, whether it's just sitting down and reading a book, which many people complain about how boring business books are. They don't like
Hmm.
reading, they're not big readers to begin with. There's so many avenues to learning, and there's so many opportunities for learning through BNI. There's virtual workshops, and we're getting back to doing in-person workshops. We have conferences. There's the education moment, which is a part of every single meeting. There's podcasts, there's blogs, there's conference audios. Like there's so many paths to learning. There, I don't know where I would be as a business owner now without the education that I got through BNI, because especially 20 years ago, like it was pretty much a business book. I didn't know about any other. I wasn't adept at using the internet. I wasn't adept at a lot of the things that are available now or more common now. It was BNI and being around successful business owners. That's where I feel like I learned just about everything about running a business.
Yeah. And, I have been in business next month. It'll be 20 years and I am still learning.
Yeah.
Every single week I'm learning something new through BNI. And I think that's so important as a business owner is to recognize that we don't know everything and that there's always something new to learn. And the fact that there's not only that built in education in every weekly BNI meeting, but like you said, there are so many other opportunities to learn that are outside of the weekly meetings as well in so many different ways. So, if reading isn't your thing, maybe you don't want to read a blog article, but you could listen to a podcast or, there are so many different options, which I absolutely love.
Yes. And yeah, one of my, some, like a pet peeve of mine is being around people that do feel like they've learned it all. They know it all. I've done this for over 20 years and I don't know it all. And
Hmm.
our founder, Dr. Meisner, he knows a lot, but I don't think he would even say that he knows it all. I think the minute you start feeling like you know it all, everything you do and say becomes very stale.
Mm.
And outdated because there's just so much still out there to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the best business owners are those that want to continue learning and recognize that there's always something new that they can learn, whether or not they take it into practice. That whole lifelong learning tenet of BNI, I think, is so critical. So I'm curious. What are the biggest challenges you face as being a BNI regional director? Are there certain challenges that you find yourself coming up against day in and day out?
I think that even though we experience growth, not all of that growth, not all of those members align with BNI core values. Uh,
Mm,
we want chapters just filled with people. Our main core value is givers gain. People who truly believe that in giving that they will get, that they lead first with building the relationship and in being the one to trust first until there's a reason not to. And when a chapter is filled with that, it just feels like there would be no boundaries. The referrals would be limitless. The energy would be limitless. The growth would be limitless. But unfortunately, that's we attract a lot of people who see all the benefits. I don't want to say a lot of people. We attract members that see all the benefits and simply feel that by joining, all of these things are just going to fall into my lap
mm,
without investing in the relationship, which is truly an investment in yourself when you're investing in the relationships. Because when I know someone's history, when I know why they do what they do, when I know about their family and their passions, like my desire to try and find business for them, it changes. But some people feel more comfortable with more surface level relationships, and that can be challenging because it becomes more transactional than relational, and our organization is really focused on the relational. And when you lead with relationship, the referrals will just follow.
yeah, absolutely. I truly believe that. And one of the ways that you build relationships through BNI is through one on ones. Can you tell our viewers what a one on one is and how that works?
I do want to make a slight correction. It's a 1-2-1.
Oh,
When
okay.
you say one on one, some people think basketball because it is
Oh,
a
oh, okay.
one to one thing, and some of the terminology doesn't translate well into other countries. So
Ah,
when the first probably 15 years, 10 years I was involved with BNI, they were called dance cards
oh, how
because
funny.
and in the 1800s, if someone wanted to dance with another person, they would have to sign a woman's dance card to dance with them. And
Oh
so
my
for
goodness.
years it was called a dance card, and then it doesn't translate or make any sense in some other countries. So
Ah,
the term has changed a little bit over the years, but it is a 1-2-1, and it is where two members sit down together. Hopefully, they have pre filled out worksheets that we recommend to help bring some structure to that one to one. You are building a relationship, but you are also trying to figure out how to refer to each other and how to get to whatever that next level is in that relationship through that one-to-one experience. Talking about the professions that you need connections to, talking about ideal clients, talking about a little bit of personal, talking about goals you have and accomplishments you've had, and all kinds of things, everything towards building your visibility and your credibility to just make it easier to refer to each other. But it's just about an hour. Most people in Washington do it over coffee, but it can be at either person's office or lunch. I've heard of a few happy hour ones, although I don't know if those are as productive as others. But yeah, it's just each person spending about 30 minutes talking about each other or themselves.
And it's a great way to, in a concentrated period of time, really get to know the other person. When you're focused on them, use those worksheets that hopefully both of you have filled out and reviewed ahead of time. It really helps you get to the nitty gritty of the core of each other and what's important to each other. And I love that in terms of the structure. And I think that also is part of the learning, right? You're learning about other members in your chapter or other members in other chapters that you may meet through various BNI events. And it's a part of the learning process.
Absolutely. I love it. It's part of the relationship building.
Yes, yes. So, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges facing BNI?
Well, I would say attracting the right kinds of entrepreneurs. And I think that there is still a lot of misconception around what networking really is.
Mm.
I know that when I started networking, I was absolutely terrible at it. And I thought that networking was like I was just is like a walking trade show. Like I'd go to a networking event, you'd exchange business cards. Hey, my name's Micki. You want to buy my products or services? I thought that that's what networking was. And no surprise, I got zero results and I thought networking didn't work at all
Mm.
until I realized that that's not networking at all. Networking is bringing value, is being of value, and exchanging value with another person. And so when you think that it's about a transaction, you approach networking very differently than when you know that it's a long game and it's about building relationships and bringing value and being of value and exchanging value. It changes the whole dynamic. It changes the energy of the conversation and even the expectation of what happens after the conversation. So I think the biggest misconception is that there's a lot of people that still think that networking is all about the transaction that may
Mm.
happen through shaking a hand and exchanging a business card, and that's not networking at all. I don't know what you'd
Yeah.
call that, but it's not networking.
Good point. Really good point. And what would you say are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned as a business owner?
Oh wow. Uh, Biggest lessons: be patient.
Mm.
It takes time. It really is a long game. I often compare getting involved with, your BNI chapter like dating. And I've just recently, a couple of years ago, re-entered the dating world, and it is you're not going to get married after a first date.
Mhm.
And it is no different of a relationship building experience. The process is the same. The conversations are definitely different, but the process is the same towards building trust and proving your credibility. And so I think that when you know that it's going to take time, I think it takes a lot of pressure off. It removes a lot of false expectations, and things can just happen at the pace they're supposed to happen instead of trying to rush things
Mhm.
and then make mistakes in the rushing of things.
Yeah. And speaking of relationships, you were recently engaged. So,
And
congratulations.
thank you. Thank you.
And so, how do you measure performance for BNI Pacific Northwest? Is it just about the number of members, or is it more than that?
Oh well, we just hit a milestone as our region. We just passed $14 million. And thank you for closed business. It's the
Oh,
highest
wow.
thank you for closed business count that we've had in our region, which is pretty phenomenal for about 220-ish members. We've passed billions of dollars as our 340,000 members, but for our region, so it's some of it is members, but I also pay attention to the number of referrals that are passed and how much closed business is generated from those referrals. There's some of it that is data driven that you can see on a spreadsheet, and that's certainly one way. But the other is I watch social media. All of our chapters are in WhatsApp conversations with just members of their chapter, seeing the camaraderie, seeing how members promote each other and support each other, and just checking in on the overall morale of a chapter. Like those are things that you can't see on a piece of paper. So there's the statistics side of it, the thank you for closed business and growth. But there's also the intangibles that you can't really record on a piece of paper that I also pay close attention to as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think sometimes it's the untangible that means so much, right? I mean, the numbers are the numbers and hopefully they're good numbers, but still it's that other stuff that really it makes a cohesive chapter in BNI.
Yeah, it's the personal stories. Some of them are, people, members. I love testimonials, and I see a lot of them on social media. And sometimes people don't share a testimonial until I'm in the room, and they'll come up to me and they'll tell me, that BNI or their chapter saved their business,
Mm.
which is pretty dramatic. And they're usually like on the verge of tears, and then I'm on the verge of tears. Like there's some really dramatic stories. For me, when I was a very new at being a member, and I was a support director at the time, I'd had a miscarriage.
Oh.
So the support of my chapter at the time, when I had a like I couldn't have put that down on paper, and I wouldn't have cared if I'd ever gotten another referral from them
Mhm.
because, I was here because of the military. I did not have family in the area. And it was my BNI chapter that completely rallied around me and supported me during that time. And over 20 something years, I've been through many hard times, and it's been phenomenal. The members that have reached out and shared support, words of encouragement, anything during those times that, I think that being an entrepreneur can be one of the loneliest roads that you can possibly be on.
Mhm.
And if you are an entrepreneur in a family that does not have entrepreneurs in it, it's like you're speaking a foreign language. They do
Yes.
not understand the way you think. They don't understand what you're doing. They don't understand that you're thinking about your business and you're probably 23 hours a day. And so when you're with a family that they have, a 9 to 5 job, or maybe they're retired, it's just a different dynamic. And you
Mhm.
just find your people, you find your tribe when
Yeah.
you decide to join a chapter. And it's just amazing.
I can definitely attest to that for sure. And what tips do you have for new entrepreneurs, those who maybe are starting out or just in the first year or two of their business?
Um, do not overly estimate the amount of business you might get from your current family, your current connections.
Mm.
Um, I think that we have a mindset of, I know all of these people, they're all going to send me business. But when you become a business owner, your relationships change and they see you differently. And your relationship with them is not based on business. It's based on a personal foundation. And so they're not thinking about your business as often as you hope they're thinking about your business. And so spending time very early on, even before you open your doors, begin networking, meet people in the community, and even reach out to people that are in your field, and get some advice. Find a mentor, find a coach, find someone that you can turn to for support so that you don't feel like you're doing it all alone.
Yeah, I think that mentorship is so important. and finding somebody that's in your industry, or even if they're not in your industry, maybe they're in a similar position in their industry, that has some advice or can help take you under their wing. I know that in my first career that I went and sought out mentors, and it was so helpful to me to get other people's advice and to learn from them. And I was really surprised that people I admired but had no relationship with were willing to have a conversation with me simply by reaching out and saying, "Hey, I really admire what you're doing. I'm interested in coming into your field and would love to pick your brain." And people were open, if not for letting me take them to coffee, then at least for a quick phone conversation. And I think if you just ask, that people are really generous with their time.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anyone who doesn't like sharing advice. It's
Hmm.
just a matter of making sure you're getting advice from the people that you truly would like advice from, and
Hmm.
you seek them out. I think most people would be surprised at how many people are willing to share and do not see other people as competition, but opportunities for collaboration. And yeah, I do not know where I would be without the mentors. I mean, I have hired business coaches, which have been phenomenal experiences for every stage of business that I've been in. But also just the mentoring it has been amazing. And one of the things that just has blown me away about BNI is most of the other executive directors, they all feel like the rising tide raises all ships.
Mm.
And when one director succeeds, we can all succeed. And so everyone is willing to share and do a quick phone call and help and strategize and help you get outside of your head and outside of the box, and maybe help you see something from a different perspective. That has been an invaluable resource for me, is having BNI mentors.
Phenomenal. And if somebody is interested in potentially joining BNI, where can they go? How do they seek out a chapter in their area?
Sure. Well, there is a BNI.com website that you can access around the world. Here in our region, it's BNIPNW.com. And you can email me at Micki at BNIPNW.com, and I'm happy to help people get connected with the director that's in the area that you live in. And one thing that we have, like the least amount of pressure possible. Like we have an interactive chat bot. Like you can ask it all the questions you want to without having to talk to a person or have someone follow up with you or anything. You can just ask that chat bot all the questions that you have about networking and BNI. And Higgins is more than happy to have that conversation with you, even at
That's
2 o'clock in the
phenomenal.
morning.
That is phenomenal. And I think it's, so important to know that um, BNI is great for every kind of business. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. You mentioned that almost every chapter probably has a realtor or real estate agent in it, which is probably true because they're so ubiquitous. But, different chapters are made up of all kinds of different businesses and different industries. And different chapters are also different sizes. There's some chapters that have 100 or more members, and others that are a little bit smaller, maybe 20 or 25, and everything in between. So you can definitely find the right chapter that's your speed. Some of them meet in person, some of them meet virtually on Zoom, some of them are hybrid and do part in person and part on Zoom. So there's all kinds of different flavors of BNI when it comes to meetings and group size and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, Micki, tell me again how people can find more information. What's the BNI website address?
It's BNI, sorry, the international site is BNI.com. My website is BNIPNW.com. And my email is Micki@bnipnw.com.
Amazing. And I think it's also worth mentioning that you can come to a couple of BNI meetings and check it out as a visitor and without having to join. If you just want to experience it, see whether or not it's for you, that there are opportunities for you to come 2 times before you have to make a membership decision.
Absolutely. And I recommend to people all the time that they should visit probably at least 2 chapters. The agenda is essentially the same, but the dynamic of the people, I mean, that is vastly different because people are different in every chapter, and the energy and the professions, and just the chapter culture is slightly different. And of course, there's different formats. Like, try a couple of chapters before making a decision on the one that just feels, the most common thing I hear is that I joined this chapter because it felt like home.
Mm.
So you join the one that feels like home, like you found your
Mhm.
tribe.
Mhm. Great advice. Micki Nichols, who's the executive director of Pacific Northwest BNI, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. You've been terrific.
Thank you.
All right, take care, and we'll see you next time on the Business Pioneer Podcast.